Now for global business updates, Rotus Odiri joins us. Good morning, Rotus.
Good morning, Dr. Bassi. Good morning, Ayo.
Good morning, Rotus.
Good morning, Rotus.
Viewers begin in Asia, where we got a mixed bag compared to what we saw yesterday. Hang Seng, when we were compiling this, it was actually negative. It just ticked up into the positive region, so pretty volatile there. Nintendo, some Sony dragging down, but some other stocks bringing down the Nikkei. Takaichi's snap election, I think, is this weekend to see how she performs. The Kospi, she has to do well. Kospi up, Nifty, the Indian exchange was up yesterday after Trump announced that trade deal. Down today, Australia is up. So Nintendo, it's based on this. Gaming companies now are competing with AI companies for chips, and one of them is DRAM chips, this dynamic random access memory chips, and there's a shortage now because of the high demand. So that's pushing up its price. Nintendo, this is their stock price when it fell. Best is, I think, the worst performance since last April. Although the Nintendo Switch 2 has been doing pretty well in terms of sales, but their CEO in his forecast said, "Listen, this impact on chips and its supply is basically going to push up prices and impact Nintendo's margins." So we're seeing it, them and a number of other technology stocks, mainly because of what happened in the United States with Anthropic. So that's them. But their earnings, I mean, they beat on revenue and operating profit, but the markets are expecting more. So US markets were dragged down by technology. You see here the tech-heavy NASDAQ down by 1.43%, S&P down, and Dow Jones down as well. I mean, Advanced Micro Devices, they released their earnings yesterday. We're getting Alphabet today, Amazon tomorrow, and we'll have to see how they perform. But this was a disruption trade. So this is Cowork from Anthropic, the makers of Claude, and Cowork is supposed to basically be an assistant. And they added a plugin yesterday for legal work. So basically, if you are a lawyer or you work as a legal assistant or paralegal or whatever, you have this plugin that can help you research legal documents. Dr. Bati is a computer. When he says section this, section that, when he's quoting the Constitution, you basically have an AI plugin that can assist you in doing that. So that led to a big sell-off in a number of tech stocks, or rather software stocks around the world. So this is LegalZoom is in the United States. I think they're in California also. They are a software company that is supposed to help people with legal research. They dropped almost 20%. Relics is in the UK. They do a similar thing with data analytics. They dropped 14%. This is a Dutch company, Wolters Kluwer. They also do data analytics, help with legal research, taxes, healthcare, and so on, 12%. And then FactSet, they also drop about 10%. I think Thomson Reuters has dropped as well. So there was a massive, you saw this big sell-off where folks were saying, look, essentially this plugin from Claude could render all these software companies and others redundant. And so we just saw that, spilling through to the market. So we'll have to see what happens with Alphabet and others going forward. Pedro Sanchez at the World Government Summit in Abu Dhabi announced that Spain is going to be banning social media access for kids under 16, kind of what Australia did. He also said that they're going to be changing the laws to make sure that companies that run these social media platforms will be held criminally liable if they are spreading hate and sexualized images. So he mentioned Grok and other issues. So here's the Prime Minister of Spain in Abu Dhabi.
Last year, I went to Davos to warn governments about the dangers of social media. Now I am here in Dubai to tell you and explain that Spain is walking the talk. We're fighting back, and we will continue to do so. Spain will ban access to social media for minors under the age of 16. Platforms will be required to implement effective age verification systems, not just checkboxes, but real barriers that work. We will change the law in Spain to hold platform executives legally accountable for many infringements taking place on their sites. This means that CEOs of these techno platforms will face criminal liability for failing to remove illegal or hateful content.
It is going to be hard to enforce. Let's round off with Nigeria at the Bola Ahmed Tinubu International Conference Center, the, I think, 9th Nigeria International Energy Summit. Kashim Shettima talking about Nigeria's energy goals, saying that Nigeria wants to collaborate with other countries as far as energy security is concerned. Well, we had the first phase of that 4 trillion naira bond that is supposed to pay off the debts that's owed to the GENCOs. Talked about, electricity access. We had heads of states from other African nations there. It was pretty well attended. I think it ends tomorrow. I stepped out of the office yesterday and saw another electric vehicle company doing ride hailing I never heard of. So you're seeing, Cab Zero.
Yeah,
I hope the sales team. I hope the sales team doesn't send me an invoice. Our rate card has gone up at our rise. We have a lot of ads. So please, sales team, don't send me an invoice. Rufa is the one that asked. And then for me, well. Vice President Kashim Shettima shouted out our very own Vimbai Mutirin Ekpeyong at the summit. Here's the clip.
Yeah.
Honored guests, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, and let me also appreciate the very talented Zimbabwean turned Nigerian by marriage, Arise News anchor, the very dear Mrs. Vimbai Ekpeyong. Vimbai in the Shona language means have faith or belief. So, I'm very versatile with the Shonas and the Debeles of Zimbabwe, who are one of the front lines during the struggle for independence by Zimbabwe, South Africa, and the rest. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, energy is the invisible force.
Vimba is lucky I wasn't there. I would have been shouting, "That's my colleague, I work with her." That's our update for today. That's it.
Rotus, I'm happy what those countries are doing. Because when you look at the data as regards what social media do to the brains of people that's not fully mature. But enforcement is going to be the problem. Secondly, what they're going to face is the hegemony of the social media companies. They're going to litigate. They're going to fight it out in court in lots. Australia, there are a couple of court cases. Yeah. They're going to fight out in court. And the social media companies are not ready to take responsibility because once you bring in those guardrails that you're taking all those low-end pictures out, they see it as you are censoring them. They don't want to have that air that you are censoring to their customers. Yeah. That's why people like Elon Musk is talking about free speech absolutism. Yeah, exactly. But he doesn't believe in free speech. When you say something against him, he censors you. It doesn't make your tweet go far and all of that. So it's going to be hard. I think to a large extent, the world needs Margrethe Vestager. I think she's the one that knows how to deal with them.
That's good points.
Well, we've been following the social media, Under-16 social media ban story since Australia, put it into full effect. And one of the things we had highlighted was that a number of European countries were mooting the idea. One of such countries, of course, is Spain. And he made some very valid, arguments for the banning. And even now, some African countries are talking about maybe we should also adopt this. But one of the key things he said is learning the lessons. Rufai talked about how difficult it would be to implement from the Australian model. So the Australian model shows that some young people are able to bypass the technology by using, and very simply so, by just using a picture of an adult and they can register. But by placing the burden of responsibility on the owners of these platforms, it makes it a bigger, deal. And perhaps they would even be more careful to ensure that young people are prevented from getting on these platforms based on these new laws. So one of the things we need to address is the punishment in terms of sanctions or fees paid if they violate this and errors around that. Now to the Nigeria International Economic Summit. Congratulations. It was so, and Vimbai was speaking earlier this morning on Newsday. Yeah. No, I said Newsday, on Daybreak. Yeah. And she was talking about how it took her by surprise. She wasn't even expecting it, and just to see that, and she gave credit to Arise, being the platform that gives that visibility, brand equity visibility, but also, of course, a testament to the diligence and excellence of work that she does here. But touching on the summit itself would be it not just being a talk shop. That's because this is the 9th edition, Rutus. That's right. And a number of the issues that were discussed at this summit were discussed in the last summit, two summits. So it is maybe an action plan that can be a tracker as to some of the outcomes of this. We must keep up alive of this summit and to what extent they are, because we just come and give the same, anyway, let me get, but they just come and give the same speeches, but let's see to what extent.
Patience after 9 years.
Patience is easy. It takes time. Dr.
About Spain, there is a trend internationally. Whether from New York with the former mayor of New York, Eric Adams, talking about sexual exploitation of children, or in the UK or Australia, we became the first country in the world to ban the use of social media by underage persons. And then many states across the United States, So the whole issue is about child exploitation, access of children to, undesirable materials. But the point I want to stress is that even here in Nigeria, the Lagos state government, only last week, put out a statement and said, look, the Lagos state government is going to begin to look at the access of children to social media.
Good.
And that the laws of Nigeria, support this. Sections 131 to 139, Section 141 of the criminal law of Lagos State.
Living AI, Dr. Abasi.
Section 25 and 26 of the Child Rights Act. Sections 23, 24, 25 of the, Cybercrime Prohibition Prevention Act of 2015. So the Lagos state government is also part of that loop. And I think that Nigeria should also get involved. Yeah. The only challenge with this social media ban for young people is implementation. The other challenge is the role of parenting. And then how you enforce
That's
the
my
laws.
own, Dr. Abati. Thank you for mentioning
that. The second major issue, you were talking about AI for law practice and all of that. But you cited other jurisdictions. We also have in Nigeria, because every professional is going in the direction of AI.
That's right.
We have Law Pavilion. They have something called Presscom or something. We have law.ai, So the future is technology.
There's something called regulatory filing.
And I think all the professions, are getting involved in that particular direction. So thank you very much.
Thank you.